Hi guys, it's Spud here and welcome to episode 35 of Spudball, and in today's episode we are going to be talking about what Liverpool team I would like to see slash what we could potentially see next season. I have tried to be as realistic as possible with who I've put in this. Obviously I'm very excited for IRAOLA'S time at Liverpool to start. I think it's going to be very exciting, but there's obviously still going to be a few transfers. There is going to be some players that don't have as much experience, so it might take 1 or 2 seasons for it to to be able to challenge for trophies potentially. We haven't. I'm not expecting Liverpool to win the league next season, but I expect us to be a lot better and to be at least comfortable and getting decent results and winning games comfortably, But we're going to be looking at the squad building that I would be doing, and what the A team and B team would kind of look like next season. So if you do enjoy, please like the video. Let me know who you think Liverpool will sign or who your clubs might sign. We will be doing a video soon as well, which will be one player, which is funny enough, the first ever Spud Ball we did, one player each team should sign in the summer. Um, each Premier League team should sign in the summer, so that should be quite exciting when we do that. But yeah, let's get straight into this. So we're going to start with goalkeepers. I will get the webcam on. So we're going to start with goalkeepers. So Alisson is staying for another season. I expect him to leave in 2027, but I think it's good that he's here for another year. I mean, you never know if he has a good season. We're expecting that yearly Alisson injury, unfortunately, but obviously he was out a little bit this season. Mamardashvili had a really poor time, in my opinion, and I think that we'll either loan him out or Yaros. Now, obviously Yaros was doing quite well at Ajax, and then he got a really bad injury, so his loan was terminated. I don't know if he'll be back for pre-season or not. If he is, I think that Iraola, especially with Alisson at the World Cup, I don't think Yaros was called up to the World Cup squad. So I'm assuming that obviously made the he has made the Czech squads before. So I'm assuming he's not fit yet. Um, but see how pre-season goes if he's there. If he's not, then obviously we'll probably have to keep Mamardashvili because I can't see Liverpool wanting to sign a goalkeeper this summer. So you loan one of Mamardashvili or Yaros out. Freddie Woodman will be third choice. Peshki gets loaned out in my opinion because he will eventually be the third choice keeper when Woodman leaves, and hopefully in the future second choice, and you never know what happens after that. And then obviously Cornel Miscua, who sometimes makes Liverpool's Champions League benches because he's homegrown and club. Keep him just for the homegrown and club quarter for the Champions League squad. Then we move on to right back. Now with right back, there is obviously options. First of all, Connor Bradley, we're hoping apparently could be like October. But obviously he won't have any pre-season. It's going to take him a while. The club will give him time. Frimpong's obviously had a rough time, but he's going to be the backup right winger, and hopefully he can start showing something under a new manager. Calvin Ramsey sell, pretty obvious. Whatever we can get for him. Regarding right back, so apparently Liverpool aren't looking at Palestra. Obviously Palestra was one that I'd have been interested in. But that's fair enough. Other right backs that I like Kayode from Brentford, but I don't think Liverpool will want to be spending as much money as they spent on Milos Kerkez as on the other side. So I can't see Kayode. So then it left me two options. Well, obviously another player I would love would be Jed Spence, because I don't mind Jed Spence. Maybe not love, but I'd like would be Jed Spence. Don't think that'll happen because Spurs stayed up. Because obviously he can play left back as well. And he's homegrown. So the two players that I was left with, if we signed either of these, I'd be happy, but we've never been linked with them, so I don't think that'll possibly happen. But Guella Doué from Strasbourg, obviously he does not have a clause for him to join Chelsea, but if Chelsea want him, they'd get him. That's how it works. Obviously it's Desiree Doué's brother. And then there's Alberto Costa from Porto. He'd probably cost around the same amount of money. They would probably be the two right backs I'd take. Obviously, Guella Doué can play centre half as well. I haven't put him on the centre back building though, but he can play centre back. But yeah, both had very good seasons for Strasbourg and Porto, so we'll have to see on that. I would be happy with either of them. Obviously, I didn't want Denzel Dumfries, so I was quite happy that Real Madrid came in for him. I don't think Denzel Dumfries is what Liverpool needed at all. Centre backs. So obviously Van Dijk is going to be 35. He can't play as many. He literally played the most minutes of any outfield player this season in the Premier League. This can't happen again. I've not included players that have left for free here, by the way. So obviously Kanate is not on here. Robertson isn't. Salah isn't. Obviously Xhaka will be Van Dijk's understudy and probably the backup. Not backup, sorry, his partner. So obviously we did spend a lot of money on Jeremy Xhaka, and obviously, yeah, he would have probably got more of a time to feel like to get comfortable with the club and slowly embed his way into the system, into Areola's system. But obviously that isn't going to be the case because Kanate has left, and it doesn't sound like we're going to replace Kanate. So technically, Xhaka is replacing Kanate. Obviously, we spent a lot of money on Jeremy Xhaka. You know, his potential is huge. Um, but obviously it's going to be interesting to see how he can cope with the Prem. Obviously, Leone would have had a full season under his belt, but obviously got an ACL injury on his debut. He should be back for pre-season, maybe not the start of it, but during it, which is absolutely massive because he's obviously going to have a decent impact next season, hopefully. And then you've got Joe Gomez, who normally gets linked with moves away. This is the one season I don't think he will get linked with a move away because Liverpool just don't really have time to be focusing on centre back, which isn't ideal. But we have obviously signed some young ones, which I've listed under here. So we've got Njai and Nduuki. I don't know how to say that. Njai's obviously been at the club. He's made the bench a couple of times. Interesting to see how he does on pre-season. But you know, if he impresses Iraola, there's always a chance. I mean, going into pre-season, Van Dijk's probably the only centre back there that won't be available. Obviously, Xhaka did get a shoulder injury about 2 weeks after he joined Liverpool, which is just typical for Ren. But he should be fine for the start of pre-season because obviously that is like a month away. And then Welity Lucky and Amara Nalo I expect to be loaned out. So left back's a bit of a difficult one because obviously Kirk has his first choice, that's fine, and obviously you know he's going to do well under Iraola. But Tsimikas coming back, I don't think is good enough to be the backup. But then again, in 24-25, I wanted Tsimikas to play more than I did Robertson sometimes. So we'll have to just see how it goes. Hopefully Kirkes won't get injured and Tsimikas can just play in the cup games or little cameos off the bench, but we'll just have to see. Regarding obviously Owen Beck and Luke Chambers, I think Liverpool will keep hold of one of these for the homegrown quarter. I think Beck will stay, whereas Chambers will get a loan out. But obviously that might not happen. I don't know. With the left back, it's a bit difficult. Moving on, we've got the midfield pivot, and this is probably the most. This is the one. This one and the wingers are probably the one to talk about the most. So I think personally, I've done them in order of like who's the starting order as well. So for me, Szoboszlai has to be in the midfield next season. Obviously, he presses a lot, works really hard. Um, you know, he's going to be a vital part of Iraola's team. Um, Alex Scott would have been the one that I would have wanted to partner him with, but Bournemouth want £80 million. Liverpool just won't pay that, which is understandable because obviously his first 2 seasons at Bournemouth he was a bit steady. You know, he was just trying to get his way into the team, and this season he's been magnificent. But is he worth 80 million? Not in my opinion. Could be one for another transfer window. I think there's the Premier League midfielders are just costing so much money right now. Um, it's just not worth it. But one midfielder I've always been a fan of since Liverpool said they were linked with him, and I watched his performance against PSG, or highlights of his performance against PSG, and he gave like PSG's good players a real tough time, and that's Mamadou Sangare. He was actually the highest rated player in League One this season on FotMob. He was in the team of the season, I believe. So he's a defensive midfielder, and I think Liverpool need a proper defensive midfielder, but he can still pass the ball and he'll still cause problems going forward. And then obviously Gravenberch, I don't know if he's got the legs to be a starter in this Iraola team, so that's why I've put him as a backup. With Lamine Camara, another £40 million player from League on this one from Monaco. You could argue Camara or Sangare could start either of them. I know Liverpool fans might want Adam Wharton or Alex Scott, but I can't see Liverpool paying these really inflated prices for English and Premier League midfielders. Trainioni should get some decent game time this season. And I've kept Endo just because I think that there's no point of selling him for like 5 million. He can fill in as a centre back as an emergency. He's played right back before. Hopefully that won't be the case, but it'd be silly. Regarding the sell, McAllister, if we can get anywhere between 40 to 60 million for McAllister, that would be really good because his first 2 seasons at Liverpool were great. Last season was terrible, and I don't think he'll be able to cope in an Iraola team. He just looks declined. Unfortunately, Curtis Jones, I'm going to put sell 30 million. I would love Curtis Jones to stay. I would be keeping Curtis Jones rather than buying Kamara. But Curtis Jones wants the game time. I don't know if Iraola will give him the game time. I think Curtis Jones will be at Liverpool when pre-season starts. So it's one to look out for. Definitely one to look out for with Curtis Jones. If Curtis Jones stayed, I would only buy Sangare. But Liverpool's midfield does need a little bit of work, regardless. I mean, if McAllister stays and Jones stays, I still think we need to sell Endo then and buy one more. I just don't know what they'll do. Attacking midfield is difficult. I mean, Wirtz for me has to start. We spent all this money on him. I'd be putting Szoboszlai as a 10 as a backup, like as a. I mean, Szoboszlai could play as the 10. Then and Harvey Elliott, obviously, I'd love Harvey Elliott to get a chance. I think he's a good player, but is he fast enough to play under Iraola? I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm hoping Harvey Elliott will get a chance going into next season. So I'm going to put him on here. Obviously, if they don't want to keep him, maybe we either just have Szoboszlai as a backup, or we potentially buy. I know we obviously want to buy two forwards, a winger, two wingers, or a winger and a versatile forward. Maybe we have a versatile forward that can play in the number 10 as well as striker or one of the wing positions. We'll have to just see. Now, what I will say is with the other two, with these wingers and strikers, there's going to be a lot of players you see multiple times. I'll try and explain it the best I can, okay? And then we go to right wing. Well, obviously we've got both the signings, like I mentioned. Obviously Diamande is going to be the main winger that we go for this season. Obviously he can play left and right, but he is better on the right. He played more games on the right as well for RB Leipzig this season because obviously they've got Antonio Nusa, who is another player that I wouldn't mind at Liverpool, but let's be honest, Liverpool are not signing two players from RB Leipzig in the same window, especially two wingers. Won't happen. But for me, Diamande is the definite target that we should be going for. But then obviously regarding other players, we've got Frimpong that could play the right wing, Szoboszlai as well potentially, but that would be very, very unlikely. But Frimpong obviously definitely could play some games on right wing, but when he's played this season at right wing for Liverpool, he's been really poor. The other player who we were going to sign, because we're going to sign another forward, is a difficult one. Because we're either going to sign, I don't know yet who it'll be, but we had been linked with Bazuma Toure from Hoffenheim before Slot got sacked. German reports had been linked with him. Lewis Steele from the Daily Mail had also said that we had looked at him. He's just turned 20. I don't know if he's just turned. He's 20. Obviously, he's predominantly a left winger, but he has very good defensive capabilities. So he'll track back, he'll press. He's very fast. No, he doesn't. He only scored 5 goals this season for Hoffenheim in the league, but he did get 9 assists. And obviously, if he's creating the service to Isak, hopefully, that could be good. He obviously would be the backup left wing, I would say. I would be starting Engamoa. I just think Engamoa has that potential to be like one of the top players in his position. And he's shown already that he's good enough to start for Liverpool. And obviously there's been talks that Bayern want him to be Luis Diaz's backup. We've got to make sure that when he turns 18 this season that we tie him down to a long-term contract. And hopefully give him a nice paycheck and assure him that he will be the starting left winger. But it's good to have someone like Toure as well. Could be one of those where he might pick Toure in games where we are trying to, for example, if we're playing a team where we're having to counter-attack, Toure is a perfect counter-attack option. Obviously, Diamande can play on the left as well, but we've signed him to be our right winger, if we sign him, sorry. he would be our right winger. Gakpo obviously is a left winger at trade as well, but I think his minutes will come more from striker this season because of Ekitike being injured, and I think Lewis Koumas will go on loan. Obviously, there is other players, like, originally I was going to mention Kevin Schade, because obviously he can play striker and left wing, but I'm not really a massive fan of him, so I don't really want him. What I will say on the left wing front though, I also really like Ezazuli from Real Betis. He'd cost probably about 45 million. I don't know if he has a release clause of 50 million euros, if that's fake, but he'd cost around that anyway. Um, but he's only really played left wing in his career, whereas Toure is young, yeah, but um, he has played a couple of games on the right, and I'm sure that he's one of those players that'll just play anywhere. Um, I don't know if it will be Toure because obviously of the fact that he is a left winger, he's left-footed. We weren't really we were looking for more of a right-footed right winger. Um, but I don't know. Obviously, Isak would be first choice striker. Ekitike is obviously injured till March. I wonder if when Ekitike is fit, he could be another option in the 10 behind Isak. And then obviously Gakpo is probably going to get a decent amount of minutes either on the left or up front this season. And then obviously Dan's and right. Dan's might go on loan maybe actually, I don't know. This would be what the teams would look like, in my opinion. Obviously I know the B team attack doesn't look as good as the A team attack, but that's obviously going to be the case. But then if you put Ekitike, because I've not included him on here, if Ekitike would be in instead of Gakpo, and then it looks a lot better. I think with Ekitike, I mean, so with Gakpo, I think there's a situation where he leaves in summer of 2027, and then our attack would be Engamoura and Toure, Diamande and a new right winger, because the market's not great, um, and then Isak and Ekitike as the backup strikers. That's what I think it will end up being. So we will end up buying another right winger to replace Cody Gakpo in 2027. But we'll have to just see. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this episode of Spud Ball. Let me know who you think Liverpool will sign or your clubs will sign. The next episode of Spud Ball will be in a couple of weeks, but it'll be one player each team should sign in the Premier League this summer window. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye for now.